Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Welcome back.
Welcome.
It feels like it's been ages.
What?
Why does it feel like it's been ages? I'm
It
pretty sure it
does
has.
actually. We did stream last week, didn't we? I think we
Yeah.
did.
Our brains are just broken. Never mind. Carry on.
Um, what was I going to say? Oh yes. Welcome back to another episode of OC Talks. Obviously, Meraki's here as usual,
Hello.
and we have two guests. We have Kitschy and Pepper.
Hello. Hello.
Since I don't, I think we've had you before, Pepper, haven't we?
I was going to be, and then I realised I double booked with an RP event that I was hosting. So.
Okay, then I'm very happy to say that you guys get to just introduce yourselves a little and say how you got into roleplay. Do you want to decide who goes first, or shall I? I'm going to take
Go for it.
Oh, there you go.
I think that means you, Mal.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Sorry, I was talking. I had my mic muted.
Oh.
Right. So, question was how I got into roleplay. Crud. Now I answered this question a little bit ago. Let me just search my DMs up with somewhere. Forum. No. Can I pass while I try and find? Never mind. I found my evidence. Right. So I think looking at this, yeah, I've been role playing for 17 years.
Holy crap.
Nice.
I started in forum roleplay, I think around 2004-ish. For Dragon Riders of Pern, if anyone is familiar with that, then that is awesome. However, I'm going to assume that most people aren't familiar with that. So, that's a thing. I started playing in Warcraft, I think it was the year before Burning Crusade. So that would have been when? 2006?
When it started.
No idea. I've lost track of time lately.
Yeah, and that was on Scarshield Legion as a Night Elf. And then I moved to the Shatar and role-played on there, I think until Cataclysm.
Cross balls!
And then I just kind of stopped role-playing for a good 5 years, maybe?
God, that froze ball scared me.
I could put a timeline together, but I'm not prepared for this question, so you're not getting a timeline of when I came back into roleplay.
Okay, it's fine. I guess we've got vague ones.
I came back to Argent Dawn June-ish last year after evacuating Final Fantasy.
And then everyone evacuated Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Or I guess
Final Fantasy was alright. They were just people issues, as they usually are in roleplay.
Yeah.
I think it's the internet. There's always going to be people issues.
Oh yeah, and it self-selects the role-playing community as well.
Alright, well, what about you, Kitschy?
Yeah, my name's Caleb. I play Kitsch, and I'm from the States. So it's 2 p.m. for me right now. I skipped my class to come on the podcast today, which is fun. I know. I know. So I skipped class, but I'm happy to be here because I love this show. And I've been role playing for a while. But I started role playing on World of Warcraft in kind of the transition into Legion. Was when I made like my first actual original character. And I've been role-playing ever since. But before that, I think like the first time I ever made a role-play character was on like the PS3, like on Little Big Planet, and I would like role-play on that with my friends. So that was kind of the beginning for me at least. So yeah.
Little Big Planet, I would never thought of that. God, I missed that game.
If you want to, you can find a way.
To be fair, you could build on that, couldn't you? From what I remember, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, you could build pretty much whatever you wanted, and me and my friends at the time would build just levels and stuff and create characters. And I invested in like the PS3 keyboard so I could type faster.
I had that as well.
I was in middle school at the time, and I think I was up until like the early hours of the morning just role playing on Little Big Planet. So yeah,
It's pretty cute. I've been cute in a good way, by the way.
that's okay. That's okay.
Let's just dive straight into it, I guess. Shall we go from Pepper to Kitschy from now on?
Keep the system.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. All right. Who is your character?
My character is Malthair Evenspark, Evenspark. Honestly, I don't pronounce it in the same way all the way on the last name, but that doesn't matter because nobody uses that last name anyway, except when he's in trouble, so that's fine.
Excuse me, Theolan uses it exclusively, but I probably also interchange between the two, so.
That's okay, that's true, yeah. Okay, so but then if it's Theolan, he basically counts as in trouble, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is Cinderai, and he is 110-ish. Now, a little segue here. Because I started role-playing in Burning Crusade, I'm still going by the Burning Crusade Blood Elf Ages. With the new canon as well, and that is an entire side round. I'm just going to kind of gently skim over, which is law says you're adult by 18. I will take 18 as being physically adult, but I will still go by societal adulthood is between 60 and 90, because if you can live for literal millennia, why would you be an adult at 2 decades?
Our next 2-hour podcast is going to be when we try to talk about elf ages.
Oh my god.
To be fair, it does state that it's the same with night elves. It does state that they age, to 18 or whatever to full adult, but society only considers them as an adult when they're like 300
but
or
if you
150.
think about the real world comparisons, it's very similar because physically we all age very similar, but what a culture accepts as being an adult is different in every country.
And from like pure survival of a species thing, if you're
not actually be as incompetent as a toddler for 30 years and actually have a species survive.
Exactly, yeah, basically. You would die.
The whole species would die.
Yeah, we wouldn't have them as a race, that'll be it. They'd be gone. But, unless you're like one of those species that lives for 3 years in a pupa and a bug underground, comes up, mates, and then dies within a month. Not looking at you, Maybugs. Kind of looking at Maybugs.
There is a species that lives 3 years in WoW, and that's called a Hobgoblin.
Oh, God. God, that's...
Those poor Hobgoblins.
Anyway, so yes, he's a retired battle mage, despite being the equivalent of an early adult. And isn't retired as in, oh, I'm done with this life. No, it's retired, and when the life went, they're done. It's done with him. And at some point, someone took him to a side and said, "Dude, you are no longer field worthy. Go back to being a civvy." And he's like, "No, I could be. No, get the fuck off the field. You're a liability now."
I'm going to let moderators do something very cool, and it's ban that person in chat.
Oh, yeah.
The one...
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Sorry, I was listening, though.
So, I'll probably keep my further ramble on that for the next section, but yeah, he is retired. Not that he chose to retire, he just was retired. Someone just said, go home. Go home, you're done here.
That's fair.
And that's him.
Alright, well, what about Kitschy?
Yeah, so my character's name is Kitsch Quasivindius Goldwatt, but most people just say Kitsch Q Goldwatt. And if you couldn't tell, he's a gnome because he has a ridiculous name. And he is a Titan-forged mecha-gnome from Ulduar. But through kind of a long string of events, he basically was freed of his subjugation and is now just kind of a little engineer scientist who roams around Azeroth and kind of tries to search for his purpose, his like-minded people who he can work along with. So that's kind of the gist of him. But I've been playing him since again kind of that Legion time frame, and he started off as a campaign NPC for a guild that I was in at the time, and he was just someone who helped our guild solve little technology puzzles and stuff like that. But I liked him so much, and I liked how crass he was and how shrewd he was, that I eventually made him his own character. So he's
love
become.
It when that happens.
I know.
Just thinking, I'll throw them away. It'll be fine. I'll not get attached.
Right, he was supposed to be like just a throwaway character. There was like an event one time where we had to teleport a really long distance, and I was like, well, we don't have any mages, and I don't like have any other options. So I was like, I'll just pull in like a random little engineer guy. And then it kind of just went from there. But he is now like my main character who I've been playing consistently for the past like 2, maybe 3 years now.
I was going to ask your inspiration for it, but I guess that's the next question because it's quite interesting to. I don't think I've seen a character concept for having a mechanism from Ulduar, like anyone role-playing one at least.
No, not on our side of the pond anyway.
Yeah, the where I got my inspiration for Kitsch was basically during like the Cataclysm and Beyond period. I have been running Ulduar for ages, trying to get the Mimiron's head mount. And I haven't gotten it.
Oh, okay.
I've got it.
What?
Anyone who has Mimiron's head is just naturally my arch nemesis because I just.
It's the thing. I didn't even farm for it. I got it.
Oh my god, that's so evil. But anyways, I used to well, I still do off and on. I farm Ulduar for Mimiron's head, and my favorite mob in Ulduar is they're the little like mechanomes that fly in the helicopters above like the siege grounds. And one day I was like, I think I want to make a character that was like one of these little like mechanomes during the siege of Ulduar. But the problem is that there wasn't. I mean, there wasn't a toy at the time that could change your appearance to a Titanforged mechanome. And also, you couldn't like do the pickpocket trick to make yourself look like a Titanforged mechanome. So I kind of just had to come up with a story where like, oh, he went through like a really bad crash or something and then got rebuilt. And now he looks like how he does today.
That set's from Cataclysm, right? Or is it?
Ulduar is from Wrath of the Lich King.
No, I mean the set you're wearing.
Oh, that is actually from, I think it's from Draenor.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's when they started adding the like padded texture kind of. They started giving the armor texture.
The hamburger helper quilted fabric.
Yeah.
And the belts that go down to your knees.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, well, I guess since I asked your inspiration for that character, Pepper.
Right. Back up the screen. So, I suppose in terms of inspiration, I didn't go, I want to make a character like this character. But I guess if I had to look for an external point of inspiration, it would be Malazan, Book of the Fallen. And if anyone has read this in chat, I will hug you. But I'm assuming no one has read that.
I don't know how to read.
Malazan the Fallen. No, I haven't read that one. I don't think.
I would highly recommend it. It is a high fantasy. I say high fantasy. It's high fantasy, but the point of view characters range from high power, basically a god in the setting, to a foot soldier grunt. And it's military fantasy, so it goes into the things of actually, if you have a fantasy setting with mages, then actually mages are basically living artillery and get treated as such. You sort of stop being a person and you just are a weapon. Anyway, so that's part of it, but also a big thing of Malphite is he is an elf. And I kind of imagine that elves don't look at years, they look at decades. And if you think of what has happened in the last 3 or so decades of WoW, depending on what timescale you go on, because let's not talk about the timescale of WoW. Oh my god.
You mean the timescale where we have 2 winter veils in every conical year?
Yeah, sometimes 3. That timescale. If you look at that, it's basically like reliving the first 3 months, 4 months of 2020 on repeat for kind of a decade or 2, really.
It's just chaos.
It's chaos, and when you're a character, a person who's like used to living in time as decades, when basically it's been unending war for 30 days since 90% of your race got wiped out, that is going to wreck your head.
Don't forget that you've also split up quite a bit.
Oh yeah, don't forget the Civil War, and don't forget, because Malfear is ex-Sun Fury, who then went Shattered Sun. He's kind of had the civil war against his people twice and killing ex-comrades, and that was a thing. His brain just kind of didn't cope with it.
I'm honestly just kind of surprised there isn't just like only 2 Blood Elves left.
Yeah, and 2 Blood Elves left on the field, and the rest are just like huddling in therapy somewhere. So that's kind of the inspiration, is looking at the setting, looking at the different racial, as I view it, likely racial understandings of time, and how would you actually adapt to that? Because, I mean, if we look at 2020, the amount of people that went down with kind of mental health problems just because of the first 3 months of the year being absolute chaos. I mean, what did we have? America's threatening to have war at something. I'm not sure what happened in February. And then we had COVID. I remember February was pretty bad, though. Did we have murder hornets?
Was on fire.
There was murder hornets, there was Australia.
It's got so bad that we just forgot that there were murder hornets on Australia on fire, okay?
There's just so much shit.
Yeah. And we didn't survive that mentally that great, so what is an elf going to do? So yeah, that's his inspiration. And now it's just, how do you move on from that and actually live a life without just sitting in a corner rocking backwards and forwards for eternity?
I'm kind of imagining his entire roleplay basis just being him sitting on a therapy chair or talking to a therapist.
No, he ran away from that.
Oh.
He's got a really good dealer.
Yeah, a really good dealer, and actually, like, off screen, that was what he was doing for, like, the year between the end of Broken Shore and when I picked him up. That was his time in rehab, and then he just fucked off. Which Thiele knows about, that he just fucked off and stopped going to his appointments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say I think he needs to meet Ursula, considering she's gone through a lot of crap as well, but she still keeps up this enthusiastic sort of exterior.
Oh, so does Malfear.
But I think he might get tired of her.
So it's like sitting there being kidnapped and just grinning like an idiot. Anyway, that's my answer done.
I guess we've done the second question then. Progress, woo. Have you ever run into any issues when role-playing your characters? If so, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I wrote down 2 for this one that I could think of. The first one is that Kitsch is a pretty antisocial character. He kind of believes that there's more value in things left unsaid, as opposed to starting conversations that he doesn't, believe have any value, because he is a robot and, all that. But because of that, from like an out-of-character perspective, it's hard to be true to his nature as a character who's antisocial, doesn't like starting conversations, but to want to like walk up and start conversations like as a player, because then you just kind of have to rely on other people to maybe walk up and talk to you. And I finally overcame that in the form of like joining a guild, because you have people who you can regularly run into and create stories with. So that was kind of the saving grace for like that first issue. And the second issue is that Kitsch is way smarter than I am, so it's really hard to. I know, it's like he's like a little robot genius, and it's really hard to pretend like I know what he's talking about most of the time. So feigning his intelligence from like an out of character writer just comes in the form of like I have to make sure he talks like he knows what he's talking about. But also not to a point where it's exposed that I actually have no idea what he's talking about. So yeah, playing a character who's a little smarticle particle can make things difficult.
You tread a very fine line.
I know, and it's like, man, I want people to think he's smart, but I don't know what he's saying most of the time.
I was gonna say you could have him just speak down to others, like dumbing things down. But then again, he is a robot, and as you said, why would he, care for that?
Oh yeah, he's like that was another thing with like getting him to meet other people, is he realized very quickly that all of the other people on Azeroth were not like pre-installed with like a natural knowledge of everything happening at once. So he has to learn to be like respectful of the fact that like some people are learning things, and he creates a lot of like frustration in like cooperative environments, because sometimes he can be like a little bit of a jerk when he's like, oh yeah, I'm way smarter than you are, but he doesn't realize it.
I feel you on the antisocial part, though. I mean, I've failed my first Night Elf character because of it, but it did, bring Ursi out of there, so there was something good, I guess. But then there was
Guilds are
Ursia's
a good
mother.
way to do it.
Yeah.
I think if you can find a guild that really works for your character, that can be a good way to introduce those kind of like slightly more difficult characters.
There's also, I don't know, I guess depends on the characters, or I mean, if they're a rude one, maybe they're just doing something that capture someone else's attention, barging into someone or something like that,
Engineer
being in a
situations
guild
to make it a bit.
But yeah, guilds do make it a lot easier to get that social interaction for those characters that aren't necessarily social.
Yeah, it was nice because he could meet people that he could like collaborate with and be nerdy with, and not feel like he was stepping on anyone's toes. Because, he feels bad when he realizes in hindsight that he might have been mean to someone when really he was just trying to like get something done. So it was nice to meet a guild like that for sure.
I'm being bullied on stream, but yeah. Well, what about you, Pepper?
Let me bring my notes back up. I've been trying to organise my screen so I can see everything nicely. Have I managed it? No. So, this is the have you ever run into issues with role-playing a character, right?
Yes.
I thought so, just checking. I don't think off the top of my head there's anything that's been Malthair specific, just general issues you encounter role-playing, because role-playing is role-playing, really.
I mean, that's a simple enough explanation, to be fair, Kristen. How many? I presume at least 90% of the people run into pretty role-play stuff on the out of character scene a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's nothing to do with the character. I guess if I had to pick something, I, out of character, have ADHD. Can I roleplay a character without ADHD? No. That's not possible. I can't rewire my brain to be neurotypical for a character. It's not happening. But that isn't an issue. I've just embraced it. Fuck it. Malthair's got ADHD. I'll deal with it.
Relatable
It is what it is.
So
that's me done.
Yeah, fair. So, what's your OC's goals or aspirations?
Who's that to, me or?
Yes.
Malthair doesn't have set goals or aspirations, really, usually. Kind of. With the Theolane thing, he was like, yeah, I'm going to poke my nose into this, but it wasn't like... It was just a spur of the moment. I'm bored. I've found trouble. I'm going to stick my nose into it and see what happens. Followed by, I'm going to survive. And that's how he's ended up where he is now. Because I think he might have had goals and aspirations back when he was still military. But I don't think it was ever that high, and I think all that kind of got chucked out the window when they said, right, you're no longer combat capable, off you go. So yeah, he just kind of does what he wants at the time, and occasionally he'll pick up projects, he'll pick up people to be projects. But does he have long-term goals? No. I guess the only thing that counts as a long-term goal or aspiration would be reuniting the elves, because let's face it, we really need to stop killing ourselves and doing Arthas's job for him. But that's about it.
That's a good point.
Basically, I'm bored. I'm going to commit crimes right now.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
He was a bad influence.
He is a terrible influence. It's just a good thing that he's got the backing of the KTI for some of it. So it's like, I'm going to commit crimes against other criminals. This is fine.
Well, it's
not fine. He's in a fucking mess.
F in chat for Mal.
He's living his best life.
Kitsch is kind of in the present sense. He's a scientist who is always in pursuit of like the logical truth to everything. Something that I wrote down is he seeks to understand the world, but he doesn't want to change it. because he is someone who just likes to observe and to understand. And that's kind of led him to the conclusion that Azeroth is kind of a sinking ship, which you know, it's rough out there. So that kind of leads into like later questions about, you know, what he's doing right now. But he wants to get off of the sinking ship. He doesn't want to stay here. He kind of believes that his understanding of Azeroth is, you know, well enough that there's nothing of value necessarily that he could continue to learn by staying, because the cycle of violence just doesn't really stop. So right now he kind of has...
I feel like we have disappointed our little robot friend, and I feel bad already.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing that me and Kitsch have in common, it's that we just are really disappointed in the world constantly. But yeah, he just wants to get away from Azeroth someday. He's kind of meshing his scientist side and his engineering side, because he wants to become a space traveler and leave Azeroth. So that's kind of his big goal right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, to be fair, nobody can argue with that.
No one can argue to. I think everyone's probably tired at this point with the whole war stuff.
Get off the sinking ship.
Move on.
Right, and I mean, there's so much confirmed lore about what space in the Warcraft universe is like, and then there's plenty of it that can be, you know, fleshed out through headcanon. That it's something that I eventually want to roleplay, because I think it would be cool to play a little astronaut robot man.
I think that'd be pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Sorry for the noise, my end. There's a cat that's just sitting on my head.
It's no problem. I mean,
does she have an OC?
Do you have an OC? No? No.
does she want an OC?
Oh my gosh.
We're interviewing the cat now, folks. So
that's where we've derailed to tonight.
Maybe I should bring in April to join in as well.
Oh my god. Yeah. Cat talks.
Right. So family, partners, kids, all that good stuff.
Family, yeah. do they have it?
But hang on, can robots even have families?
I mean, they have a creator.
They have their batch. Everything produced in the same production line batch,
True.
I guess.
Yeah, there's that. As far as family, yeah, you got it pretty on the nose. His only actual family would be like the mechanomes that he worked along with when he was in Ulduar. But now that he's kind of decommissioned and jailbroken, he doesn't really have anyone that he's super close to, except for like the robot companions that he builds for himself to help him out in the workshop and stuff. As far as like family and kids, the one thing that he stands by is that children are evil and just malicious creatures. So yep. I don't think he would ever want to be around children. He thinks that they're too honest, and that they'll just say anything that comes to mind. And he thinks that might be bad. So that's kind of his view.
He's the Ulduar suffered Curse of the Flesh as well, right? Like some of them.
Yeah, so all of the mechanomes that got sent from Ulduar to Uldaman suffered the Curse of Flesh, and he is kind of a stickler about the fact that he doesn't put himself on the same level as fleshy gnomes. He kind of has a superiority complex about it, which again is a problem when it comes to trying to work with other people. So he doesn't really consider them to be like his kin, but he gets along with them well enough.
Does he consider any of them family? I
mean, there are a few people that he's worked with in the past that he's gotten pretty close with. And in past guilds, he's met a lot of good coworkers and stuff like that. And then in the present, of course, he has quite a few friends. He's really good friends with one of my friend Mal's OCs, Arganith Everfall. Super good friends with just this displaced child that is trying to find his way in the world, and he's extremely protective of Arganith. So that's been really interesting to roleplay too.
Figured that'd be an interesting aspect, specifically with the mechagnomes as well coming into the picture. Yeah, gnomes have a lot of, just like the dwarves actually, they extend out across Azra quite a bit, and the trolls, I guess. What about Mal?
This is probably going to be another long rambling one, because there's a lot in this question.
Fire away.
So, for start, Thalassian elf. Haha, what surviving family? Basically.
Good point.
It's a condition of the environment, really, isn't it?
It kind of is. So his mother was Zalara Sunspark, his father was Eleron Everwater, mother was an enchanter, father was a tailor, and yes, they did the sickeningly sweet thing of combining Sunspark and Everwater to Evanspark for their kid. It's very cute. They're dead.
They died all the same, cute or not.
Died all the same. So...
Take a note, cute doesn't save you.
No, it does not. In fact, if I'm DMing, cute means you're probably going to die first.
Oh no.
Give those whams in. So, is Malthier's terms with them good? No. And the kind of a story here, which is actually that his parents slaved and saved away to be able to send their son, who showed good promise for magic usage, kind of a little bit above the norm. They slaved and saved away to send him to a good upper-class school. He resented that. He really resented the pressure of that. He resented being told that's what they did. He resented how they were kind of absent when he was younger because that's what they were doing. And then the fall came. Actually, no, he went to education. He got out of that, graduated just about by the skin of his teeth because ADHD and actually going through it and an academic education kind of doesn't go together. But he got through that. And then he went, right, cool, I've graduated, right, I'm off to join the military. Fuck you. So he did that, and then the fall came, and his parents died, and he never actually got the chance to sit down, talk openly to his parents about his feelings, and so he never actually got to find out how much they genuinely really loved him, and just devoted their entire lives to making sure he had what they didn't. And as such, he doesn't know any of this, and he resents them massively for it, because he doesn't know. Which is kind of sad, but honestly, I don't think he's the only elf that has that. I don't think he's the only one by a long shot. Because there are so many people that just didn't get chances to say things to people before Arthas came along, went, choo-choo, motherfuckers, and then killed everyone.
Yeah, that's what will happen when 90% of the population dies in like a single weekend.
Yep. He has no children, no siblings. He has no children. He probably has a very similar view to Kitsch, which is that crotch goblins are evil. Doesn't want any.
Yeah.
Fuck kids. Don't have kids. No, they're terrible. Yup. Also because he doesn't want the responsibility of having to be a parent. Like, deep down inside, because of his parental issues, he's like, if I have a kid, I'm gonna have to be there for them. Yes, I'm aware my phrasing was terrible there. And he's like, I don't want to have kids that I'm going to have to be there for because, no. My brain's the best. I can't be a parent to a small child. Anyway, so that's the... Do they have a family? Do they want to have kids? Are they on good terms with family? Does he have a partner? He is polyamorous. He's polyamorous, not because, but like one of his main things is he is very much aware he can't be everything to everyone, or can't be everything that one person wants. And he thinks it's downright cruel to expect someone to change to be everything you need, if that's just not what the person is. He thinks it's far kinder for both parties to just go and get another partner that does scratch that itch, rather than putting all that on one person. So anyway, he has 4 people he has considered partners, but only 2 are currently active. But again, he's an elf. He lives by centuries, and if he doesn't see one of his partner for a few years, big whoop, you know? It's like if your partner went away for work for a couple of months. It's not the end of the world. It's fine. And if they come back in a couple of decades, great. If they don't and they've moved on, that's also fine, because actually he's not remotely possessive. So yeah, that's kind of that, and I think there's questions later on that relate to that, so I'm not going to go further into that. Actually, there's a brief bit, which is he hates the idea of codependence between partners.
Yeah!
And honestly, because of all the war and death in Azeroth, as far as he's concerned, if you set yourself so you require someone else to live, you're going to die.
Are you sure he's not a robot? Because
No!
I think they get along pretty well.
Like, why in a world where people die on the regular would you go, I need you in my life or I won't have a life at all? Because Malthus there going, well, that's just fucking stupid. Because let's face it, next week the sky's probably going to crack open, we're all going to die. Or like half of us are going to die. That's just a stupid idea. Azeroth things, am I right?
I was muted for a bit and missed all the things I was saying.
Honestly.
Look,
Kitsch is right. Just flee the sinking ship.
honestly, just leave Azeroth. Just go to space.
I'd say go to Outland, but that's just literally collapsing and falling into the Nether. So that's
even
not
safe,
good either.
though.
But you know what? Outland's probably got more time left in it than Azeroth at this point.
Oh man.
There isn't a giant sword sticking out of it for one.
True.
No, and the sky up north isn't cracking like an egg. So that's my answer done for that.
Reckon the next expansion should be called Azeroth Holiday.
It's just the beach filler episode.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what Draenor was?
No, because then it poured into Azeroth anyway.
Oh yeah.
So, what? Oh no, I was about to skip a question.
Where do they live?
Yes.
And where have they lived before?
Kitsch has lived in a lot of different places. He's probably my most nomadic character. Through no choice of mine, Kitsch gets evicted from a lot of places. Because he's not a very good tenant. He's very much like, oh, thank you for this like 5x5 bedroom. Let me turn it into a workshop. And it never goes over well with the landlord. So yeah, that he's lived in a lot of places. Right now, he lives in the junkyards of Mechagon because no one can really kick him out of there. So he just chills. And that's pretty cool. But he eventually wants to live in a space station far away from everyone and everything. And he's saving up his gnome dollars to build that someday.
That's
I mean,
adorable.
he is a robot. He could just work endlessly and then just get it.
Could be a Christmas Christmas classic.
Christmas classic.
And saving up his little gnome dollars, to buy his way off the sinking planet.
Yeah, he really is Charlie Bucket trying to get the golden ticket away from Azeroth.
Now I'm just imagining Kit trying to buy the Exodar.
I don't think his credit score would be good enough for that.
Spaceship slightly used, no longer flight worthy. Sold on eBay.
Sold on eBay. Oh my gosh.
May have crashed it into a little bit of a planet.
Slightly dented, it's fine, it'll buff out.
Oh my god.
It's put on auction by Hot Val.
Oh dear.
But yeah, that's kind of that question finished for me. He's lived in a lot of places, but right now it's a junkyard.
Junkyards are great. There's lots of treasures there, and lots of scrap for you to use. What about now?
So we've basically got two people living in a junkyard.
Oh my god.
Are you sure your characters aren't like
quite.
dating or something?
Not quite.
Is this going to turn into like an episode of Blind Date?
Yeah. No, might as well
if it
just
wasn't the
have that.
server difference. So, okay, he has an apartment. It's his parents' old apartment, but it's in the ruins of Silvermoon, like the western edge. And Malthir has, in the decades since the fall, however many decades, we don't know. See Warcraft time spans.
A length of time has passed.
A length of time has passed since pretty much most people died, and he's just been scavenging furnishing from the ruins and like the houses of dead people to fill his apartment with. It's fine. And that's where he lives, really. He has a incredibly illegal Don't Tell the Kirin Tor portal anchor in there. Mage privilege. That's it, really. Where he lives if he needs to live, or he's nomadic and travels.
Double.
All right. Also, thanks for the follow, because I just heard that orc again in my ear. So, what do they do? Have they always done that? Where did they learn the skills required for it? Did they want to do it, or was it forced on them?
I like this question a lot because Kitsch was once just a mechanical engineer who kind of worked as a drone in Ulduar. So the question of like, was it forced upon him? Yeah, basically.
He was literally built for the purpose.
He was literally built to do it. And the thing that I wanted to include with his character is that even though he was built as a factory drone, I wanted him to have like just a little bit more free will than everyone else to make his backstory, a little more interesting. So he used to be, just an engineer, but then he kind of figured out maybe he was meant for more than that. And then by complete accident, of course, he gets in a really bad crash and someone rebuilds him and sets him loose. Now he wants to become like a scientist. But a big challenge of kind of becoming a scientist for him is that science isn't just pure logic. It's also about, trusting the senses and, believing in other things that aren't just, mathematics. So that's kind of what he's learning right now, is how to learn things in a way that is kind of similar to how, organic people learn things, because he understands he doesn't have, the advantages of being able to like smell things or being able to feel things. So for him, that's been kind of his arc right now as he learns to become a scientist.
I want a quest where we help Kitsch find a nose.
Absolutely. Honestly, his face is 4 holes and some smoke, so I don't think a nose would be a bad addition. You could use it.
Slap it on the center there.
Absolutely. There's space for improvement.
What about Mal?
As I kind of touched on earlier with the education thing, really want to be a mage. He might have got there eventually, but he didn't want to get sent off to boarding school with rich kids that were kind of assholes for it. So yeah, was it forced on him? No, he could have refused. Did he feel able to refuse when his parents were busy telling him that they'd spent their life savings on it? No, not really. Having said that, after that, he did go and play around in the Ghostlands hunting trolls with kind of the fast riders, so he picked up a lot of stuff there, and he was very happy picking that up. So what does he do, and what's he always done? Kind of career soldier, which, again, struggling with now he's not. But it's okay, he just finds trouble, and that works out because you set things on fire and stop being in trouble. Or you get kidnapped and you just run, hopefully fast talk your way into not being murdered and chucked in the bay. It's fine.
Gotta love the military aspect. Azeroth.
I mean, again, Blood Elves, because like the whole lore is basically if you could fight, you did.
Yeah.
And especially when there's the lore of Sylvanas after the end of Burning Crusade, which is literally she came up to Lothar and was like, "Hey, bitch, send your guys up to Northrend or I'm gonna let you die." And he was like, "Can we have the funerals for the guys that died in Quel'Thalas?" "Nope, Northrend or you die." And so off they went to Northrend, or they died.
I think Sylvanas still needs a timeout, to be fair.
Anyway, yep, that's that answered.
Are we going to be talking about the tree again?
No.
That tree.
Oh no,
That
our
tree.
tree. It's broken.
Oh, God. You know what? We're not going to mention Sylvanas here ever again.
Sylvanas is a banned word.
Yeah, if anyone mentions Sylvanas, I'm going to ban you.
Just wait till like the whole next expansion is about her again or something.
Oh, God. She's going to yeet into the sky again.
I think I might have to leave WoW if that happens.
What is their favorite memory? Favorite or worst memory, or both? Cows, you're being banned.
This one was hard because I really had to think about it because he doesn't really like. I don't know. He doesn't feel a lot of joy or a lot of pain when it comes to things. So I was like, I don't
It's
know.
got to be a trickier one for a robot.
Yeah, so I was like, I think his favorite memory as far as like value, something that he found super enlightening, was when he finished his like first big project on his own, and that was building a submarine for the guild that he was in at the time. And it was kind of the first time that he got to work on something like Mimeron scale, like what he would have built in Ulduar, but without supervision or without being told what to do. So that was kind of a really big benchmark in his career as an engineer. And he still has the submarine to this day, and he gets a lot of use out of it. And honestly, he's probably going to turn it into a spaceship. Who knows? But yeah, that's probably his favorite memory. And then his least favorite memory, I wrote his numerous evictions because he just gets kicked out of a lot of places. And whenever he gets kicked out of a place, he has to, relocate and, figure out where he's going to go next. And it's just a lot of confusion because it's a big world. And when people don't seem to like you, it's less of a question of like, where should I move? And more of a question of like, who can I even be around at this point? So whenever he has to move away from a place, it's not a pleasant time for him.
All right. What about Mal?
So I'm going to go with his favourite memory. And his favourite memory has to be the first time he took his now partner, this is before they were partners, to his home. And his partner is an exiled high elf. And I'm not going to go and spoil their stuff there too much, but they took exile following someone else, not because their own morals demanded exile. And through various assorted reasons, they are no longer with that someone else. And so now they're exiled from Silvermoon and Quel'Thalas and alone. And when Malthir took his partner to his home in the ruins, I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was just, I think it was the first time that they had been like properly emotionally intimate in things that I'm just going to brush over incredibly briefly, rather than it just being two dudes doing stuff.
Just two guys doing stuff.
That's like all completely off screen, but it was the first.
I could sing.
Singing in the hot dogs is pretty hot because they're gay.
A Scrubs dialogue.
Oh god.
Solo.
But yeah, that I think was Malthir's first look under the armor, and then the next morning, just the guy who's now his partner just looking out the window silently at Quel'Thalas, the place that he hadn't been able to go for so many years. And that was the start of some good things. Now, the worst memory, Malthir doesn't have, because traumatic amnesia is a wonderful thing.
I love when the old brain just decides, nope, we're not.
Nope, you're not allowed to have this. But he absolutely shits himself in terror if he thinks someone is speaking on a topic that might trigger the return of those memories. He doesn't even know what's there, he just knows that there are some things that are close to it, what he remembers before and what he remembers after. And he's like, I don't want to hear anything relating to this in case my memory decides to go, hey, would you like some extra spicy memories for this? Because he got retired after that event. He doesn't want to know what's in there. So that's that, really. The worst memory he doesn't have, but the fear of the worst memory is possibly actually worse than the memory itself. He'd probably be okay if he discovered it, got to process through it, work through it, talk through it. That would be fine, but the fact that he's just brick-shittingly terrified of what might be in there is honestly worse.
You guys call it trauma. We call it spicy memories.
Spicy memories. With all that delicious felt spice.
Why is it spicy?
It controls the universe.
I'm here for the spice.
Yep. That's where the blood elf blue eyes are coming back from. It's from all the spicy memories.
Oh god, I dropped something. My screen. Oh, whoops.
Chuck a June reference in there.
Okay, nothing happened. So I guess this question wouldn't really apply to our robot.
I was going to say, it's going to be an interesting question for a robot.
How was your time as a box of components?
How were you as a baby robot?
It's yeah. Again, I had to think about this one because he has never been a child, but I consider like his childhood to be all of the time that he spent in Ulduar before he got released out into the world. And that was a really, really long time because Ulduar has been around practically since Azeroth has, been inhabited by, Titan machinery. So he was originally built to help build Ulduar. And then after it was completed, he moved into building all of the machines for Mimiron. And kind of a footnote, he was also one of the mechanomes that helped turn Mimiron into a mechanome so he wouldn't die, which was kind of a fun little childhood trauma. But another big thing that happened during his childhood would have been the corruption of Ulduar because of Yogg-Saron. And that was probably one of the big defining motivations for him in the future and why he's so individual. Because when Yogg-Saron corrupted Mimiron, that of course corrupted all of the little factory drones, and they basically, fully aware of what they were doing, had to build all of these machines of mass destruction. And for Kitsch, a big reason why he builds, siege machinery and bombs and ammunition today is because he had all of those thoughts put into his brain by Yogg-Saron, and even today he still kind of has to deal with them. So that was kind of a big part of like why he does what he does today. And then, of course, the invasion of Ulduar was a part of that quote-unquote childhood period. And kind of like what I said at the very beginning of the stream was he was one of like the gyrocopter pilots, one of the helicopter people who got shot down during the siege of Ulduar, and that's how he had his big crash and, unintentionally was able to escape Ulduar because of it. And then anything past that is what I would consider to be like his adulthood. But yeah, his childhood, quote unquote, and especially the corruption of Yogg-Saron was like the staples of him before the present day.
I have to admit, it's quite interesting because I've run it dozens and dozens and dozens of times, but you never really think about these things in terms of what the day-to-day is like for the little like NPCs that just live there.
Right. And it's a bummer because so many, I think another reason why Kitsch gets mad at, organic people is because so many mechanomes were killed in Ulduar. And for what? He's like, you guys didn't have to kill as many as you
or
did.
Or a mart that we don't have yet.
I know, exactly. It's just the gauntlet. It's terrible. So, he lost a lot of what he would consider to be like his friends during that period. And it is fun to kind of talk about like, what does the nameless mob, what story do they have to tell?
Yeah. What's their day like?
It's not good.
I imagine if you're something like a Sand Lane, evil.
Right.
They just wake up in the morning and they choose violence.
They just choose. I mean, they need the blood, right? So, what about you, Mal?
So Malphite had, I think, what you would call a normal childhood. I mean, if it was like a normal human kind of British childhood, it would just be growing up kind of on a nice bit of a council estate and kicking a ball around the street, honestly. That sort of level of childhood.
You had a ball? We kicked a can.
Oh, he's a little higher up the social chain than that. Not much, but a little bit. It's still a council estate. Yeah. So yeah, parents are quite distant due to the whole saving up to give their son a future thing, but it was just kind of playing outside with the kids, learning a bit of enchanting and tailoring skills from his parents, and kind of generally chill. And then he was sent to school, and that was shit, really. I mean, obviously, there's obviously going to be some school before that. I just don't know what it is or what it looks like for elves. And I'm not entirely sure they would follow the same... Oh, Discord keeps shutting out. I'm not entirely sure they'd follow the same kind of 16 years old education that we do. Because...
No, it would do absolutely nothing for the game at all. So therefore, it's never going to happen. But wouldn't it
Exactly.
be nice to have little, like, cultural guides to the different races, just so that you knew
I'd
things
love that.
like that. Like,
See,
I
like,
love it so much.
what
I
was
can
their
see
politics
teaching
like?
them
What was
to
their
learn
society
to...
like?
So I can see teaching to learn to read early being beneficial. But besides that, you might as well chill for the first 3 decades.
Yeah, because, like, is it a fact that because they live so long, they're not in a rush to teach certain things, or because they're so innately magic that comes in very early, and that, you know,
Probably
how does
does.
that balance out with
It probably
other
does,
things
actually,
that they're
because there's
learning?
probably, like, accidents if you're innately magic and you're not taught early on how to not accidentally set the house on fire.
Yeah, right? So, you know, these are the things that I wish we had, and I know
Yep.
we're never, ever have them.
Yep.
Completely irrelevant.
I could go into his education, because I don't know if that counts as childhood or not, if people are interested.
Later education.
I love education.
Education,
It was between being 60. I'm because of the age range. I'm saying it was between 40 and 70. So again, because I scale up ages, kind of, I go, well, fuck it, a year's a decade ish, maybe. That's kind of 30 years at going to, I guess, the equivalent of kind of human education at 10 years old to about kind of 18 years old, that sort of education. But spread through 30 years. And unfortunately, given he was kind of low-end middle class, upper lower class, wherever that is, he got sent to a posh school. And that was 30 years of being told, know your place, lowborn. Which has left marks. And 30 years of bullying from that. 30 years of... The equivalent of kicking a can in the street does not prepare you for the sheer amount of backstabbing social dances that the upper class have learnt kind of from the cradle. He didn't do well.
It was not his scene.
No, it was definitely not his scene. And because obviously he was then the kind of outcast socially from that, he also didn't have the kind of familial alliances of call on if you wanted someone to back you up or be an alibi, because no one really gave a shit. That wasn't fun. That's why he has a massive complex against nobles.
Nobles are pretty mean, to be fair, a lot of times.
Yeah, well, they kind of have to be, because if you're not mean, you get kicked off the social ladder. So yeah, that was that really.
Well,
It was all chill until boarding school.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. That would actually do pretty good on a shirt, to be fair. So, what's a strength and a weakness to your character?
Which one? Which one are we asking?
Do you know what? I want you to fight over it.
Get in the ring.
God.
Oh well, I'll start with the weaknesses of Kitsch, because those are certainly not far and few between. First of all, he's short, so that's unfortunate. So he's really terrible at any form of combat. If you were to try and rob him in an alleyway, he would honestly just stand there and be like, "Okay, that's it's gonna be this way, cool." And he's just not very good at fighting. So when it comes to like guild stuff, when we're in a situation where we're supposed to like fight monsters, it's just kind of over the many times that I've rolled like critical ones, it's just become a theme that Kitsch is not good at fighting. So that's just been his thing. He's also not always the easiest to work with in group situations, because he tends to think that he has the best plan, or if someone else is in charge, he tends to be like, I don't think you should do that. So it's not the easiest to get along with him. And he's also really shrewd and crass, and he'll say whatever is on his mind if he feels like it's necessary to the conversation. So sometimes honesty can be an issue with him. He's had to learn that sometimes, if someone has a weird face or a weird, something about them, you shouldn't always say it.
Wow, he's got 4 eyes. How can he judge that?
I know. I'm like, dude, you're a walking toaster. You got nowhere to talk, dude. So those are his weaknesses. And then his strengths. He's got a big old brain. He understands a lot of aspects of logic and math and engineering and stuff like that. So if you need someone on your D20 team who's just a little nerdy guy who can solve puzzles, he's great at that. And he's also pretty impartial. If you have to make a decision or something, he's going to tell you how it is. He doesn't really pick sides. He's very neutral in that. And as far as strength in friendships, he's super generous and protective. When it comes to his friends, he wants them to be safe because he cares about them, though he'll never admit it. And he's a hard worker. So I'd say those are some of the things that benefit him as a character.
Right, I guess it's my turn. Strengths and weaknesses. Mouthy isn't the most emotionally stable. He's better than he was. But if things kind of hit a trigger point, he tends to kind of flip very fast. But again, that's kind of elf trauma things. It's going to happen.
Just elf trauma things.
Yeah, just trauma things. He is a glass cannon. He does not have much good defensive magic at all. He might precast a fire shield, but most of the time he assesses the situation and goes, actually, you know what? The best way for me to survive this is if I waste time casting a fire shield. So if we're talking combat, basically waste a turn casting a fire shield. That's a turn they get ahead of me. That's a terrible idea. He's mobile. And I guess this covers a lot of things. He's mobile in combat, but he does not do well in combat where he has to stay put. In terms of life, he does not do well with stagnancy. Stagnant hours are like 3 a.m. when your brain goes, hey, do you want to remember an embarrassing thing from however many years ago? And he's like, no, can we not do that? Because of stuff that happened to him, which I'm probably not going to spoil, I might spoil, but because of what happened to him, his range magic is no longer up to snuff. If you think of having to hold a fireball as a fireball over distance, his doesn't. It just slowly starts to expand outwards and lose its kind of coherency as it moves from him. So he's better at medium to close range. And when you're a squishy mage boy, that's kind of bad. You go squish. His speciality is draining mana. That is one of his fell mutations, is that he drains mana really well, which is great if he lands on an enemy so he can kind of lock them down. Not so great given that he's still the squishy guy that's running to the front line that really shouldn't be in the front line and should be getting in and out. So if he can lock down a caster and then someone takes advantage of it, it's great. If someone doesn't take advantage of it, he just kind of gets mangled.
So he really needs a team.
He really does need a team, yeah.
Mood.
If he hasn't got a team, Blink Invis is an option. Blink Invis is the option. So yes, luckily he is a slippery little boy.
I like that description.
Slippery glass cannon.
Alright.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. I don't know.
So, do they have any hobbies or passions?
Trouble. He finds trouble. He sticks his nose into it.
Again, if he's with fear, then he's going to find lots of trouble.
It's great. This is the best thing. He's at this point involved in 2 criminal organisations and 1 intelligent organisation, and acting as a bridge between all of them. This isn't going to go terribly wrong and get him knifed.
I'm gonna.
Huh?
Triple agent.
Can't believe it.
He didn't even intend to get here. It's just like 2 of them were like, "Hey, would you like to walk out of this door alive?" "Yes." "Then sign this." "Oh, okay."
Just signs anything.
Sounds like a deal.
Sounds like a deal to me.
He's involved in 12 multi-level marketing
Okay.
programs.
Yeah, I don't think you should be role playing near goblins.
He's involved in NFT.
Oh no. Okay, we have to ban this character now.
As far as Kitsch's hobbies, he really loves crossword puzzles. His favorite crossword puzzle is in the Stormwind daily newspaper. And he likes it because he can kind of sit in the park and learn words that he can use to better communicate with people. So he doesn't sound like...
favorite crossword puzzle.
Yeah, his favorite crossword puzzle. And he does that every day when the crossword comes out. He makes like a religious trip, a pilgrimage, if you will, to Stormwind to get a daily newspaper because he finds it to be enjoyable. And his other like long-term hobby that he's had is he really enjoys cataloging the histories of less developed groups. Specifically, he has this weird obsession with the Tuskar. He just like loves them like through and through. He thinks they're like the most fascinating group of people on Azeroth, and he just loves like visiting them and getting to know them and learning about their history. So he's been doing that since who knows when. And the other, like the third big thing that he's really into is vehicle racing. He runs in character the Crash Cog Cup, which is like NASCAR, but in World of Warcraft. And he has a lot of fun doing that because he gets to make new friends in the engineering community, and he also gets to see people race and crash and blow up and all that fun stuff.
It comes with being a pilot. There's always a bit of racer in them, right?
Oh yeah.
Does he still go to the library?
Yeah, he still tries to make it to libraries. Yeah, he goes to he sometimes makes it to the Cozy Corner bookstore whenever they're open, because he likes to read fiction specifically because he's consumed enough nonfiction. He doesn't really need to know any more nonfiction, so he just likes to read about stuff that never happened, and he finds that really interesting because he's like, wow, this never happened, but I somehow believe it did because the writing is so good. So he likes reading.
Oh yeah, you do that racing stuff. I haven't seen it in a while though.
Yeah, it's only we only do it in the spring of every year, and it kind of goes from like the mid-spring all the way through midsummer, and then it kind of cuts off, and we wait until next season. And it is going to happen for a third season this year. I just don't know where. Wink, wink. And I also don't know when because I'm back in university, but that is something that he's super involved with.
I mean, have you done a space edition of it?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, we should do it in space.
Could do a rainbow road in space.
That would be iconic.
All right. Yeah, the Crash Cog Cup.
Crash Cog Cup. Did you deliberately make it a tongue twister?
It's actually named off of a little mini zone in Mechagon. There's like a really small racetrack called the Crash Cog Circuit, and I just headcanoned that when Kitsch was in Mechagon, he kind of learned about vehicle racing from the Mechanomes, and he was like, "That's pretty dope. I'm gonna bring it back with me and make it a thing." So I guess you could say he appropriated it, but whatever.
Can't believe he's stealing this.
I know.
Done this.
I can't believe you've done
using
this.
It's fine.
I can't believe you've done this.
Right.
All right. So, what does a day look like for your character, and how would someone get in touch with them? I see. Don't all answer at once. It's fine.
Mouth here. wakes up at goodness knows what time in the morning, depending on what stupid things he was doing the night before. Does he have a sleep pattern? No, he does not. He currently lives in Dalaran, not his home. Possibly because he doesn't want the Kirin Tor to find out about his incredibly illegal portal usage and arrest him. Just kind of get up, go downstairs, have a breakfast of 3 cheese toasties, because again, one of his fel mutations is
That's a lot
his
of cheese to start the morning with.
one of his fel mutations is that his metabolism is basically rocket powered.
And he loves cheese.
Cheese has high calorie density. It's great if you need to eat a lot, otherwise you just kind of go flop. Also, cheese toasties are amazing. Don't cheese toasty shame.
No, they aren't.
And then he just kind of drifts around Dalaran or goes off to do things, possibly lurks around and people watches for trouble that he can stick his nose into where it shouldn't be. What does a day look like? It's like, it's bold to assume that Malfoy has anything approaching some normal human regularity in there, basically. Currently he's studying some new magics, though. But if he wants to get in touch with him, I see evenings around kind of 8 PM server time onwards in Dalaran, basically.
Alright. If you want to, that's an Argent Dawn, I believe.
Yep.
Yes.
Is Argent Dawn.
Argent Dawn, if you want to find them, there you go.
Find some pyromaniac gremlin trauma thing.
We all need a trauma partner. This is trauma off, not Azeroth anymore.
It basically is these days.
What about Kitsch?
So Kitsch doesn't sleep. He's kind of just a battery-powered little toaster man, and he doesn't have to, recharge anymore. He figured that out. So I guess for him, life is just one big day. And he gets a lot done. But as far as like day-night cycle, in the early morning, of course, he goes to Stormwind to go shopping for some parts that he needs, and he also picks up his crossword puzzle. And then kind of midday, he's back in Mechagon in the junkyard, either scavenging for parts or working on a project. And then when the evening comes around, he kind of dedicates that to research. He's typically at his desk, either, maybe reading a book that he picked from the bookstore, or maybe he's back in Northrend talking with the Tuskar. He kind of operates in a day that's in 3 parts, morning, noon, and evening. So he sticks pretty strictly to that because he doesn't really like people messing with his plans. So that's kind of what it looks like for him. But if anyone was ever to try and get in touch with him in character, oh man, that's a tough question. He's kind of all over the place. But usually he can just be found roaming around Stormwind, kind of in the evening hours, or he can be found in Mechagon City, talking with other engineers. And out of character, I'm on the US side of things, so I don't know if anyone listening is in the
case that
in
wasn't
the States.
clear.
I know. I'm just a tourist. I'm a tourist, and I'm a tourist here. But yeah, I'm on the US side of things. So if anyone is from the States, then I roleplay on World of Warcraft and also on the other variant. And I'm pretty fairly active. So if anyone ever wants to meet an insufferable toaster, I'm down.
I believe there's some people from AD that play both as well. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah, quite a few more these days.
Nice.
Hopefully they'll just one day all together just allow us to play with one another, but we'll see.
I know, they need to break the wall down.
Yeah, the wall is pointless.
It's true.
So we have a bonus question that Meraki will pick.
We do.
Ooh.
I thought of something on the strengths and weaknesses I forgot to mention. Can I mention it?
Shoot.
You can.
Weapons grade paranoia.
Weapons what paranoia?
Weapons grade paranoia. I'm not sure if it's a strength or it's a weakness, but it is a thing. In that, in terms of meeting a character, Malthus gets incredibly paranoid if he thinks someone is digging for his attention. Like, if he feels targeted, his immediate response will be, what do you want and why do you want that? What do you want from me? Who are you doing this for? Meraki might be partially to blame for that.
Maybe. It's possible.
Maybe.
I'd blame
But
Just
you
possibly.
have to prove it, and that's never going to happen.
We can't prove it. Can't prove the first botched kidnap attempt, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your bonus question is, do they ever wish they had done something differently? And if they could do anything at all, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Yeah, well, to be fair, some of them are not really relevant for robots. I was trying to pick one that I think Kitsch might actually have an answer
I don't
for.
know. The butt one seems pretty relevant for a robot.
just equip butt.
he
Oh my
has
God.
different butt modifications.
Can he interchange parts?
I actually wrote it down. I said, as far as shape goes, a 6, but in firmness, 11. So that's your score.
You will break your teeth biting that peach.
I guess I have an answer for this one. I think if Kitsch could have done something differently, he wouldn't have waited so long to start trying to make friends. For a very, very long time after he kind of got released out into the world, he was afraid of, like, being sent back to Ulduar, because, you know, that would mean getting factory reset and losing everything. So he was very wary of, you know, where he showed himself at. And he also was just kind of afraid of, like, the general, if there would be any, like, prejudice against a robot. But he's kind of realized in the present that he can make a lot of friends just by being himself and by not changing anything about himself. He's realized that there are plenty of people out there who don't think he's a little freak, and there are some people who do, me included. But, you know, so I think he just would rather, if he could go back in time, he would be more upfront with people earlier.
That's very cool.
One of those cases where you try and make a really odd character, but everyone just loves them still anyway.
Yeah.
Right, it's like I definitely thought people wouldn't take very kindly to Kitsch just because I slapped Titanforge in front of Mechanome. I thought people would be like, oh, you're just a special snowflake role player, but people have really enjoyed him, so I think that kind of has been it's been a relief for sure.
I
I think he sounds incredibly adorable.
He does. I think in terms of special snowflake as well, it's really important how you handle it, if that makes sense. Like, if you give vibes that you're deeply serious about your character and go for something kind of off the wall, that tends to get worse vibes than if you give off vibes as, yeah, I'm not serious about my character. Like, they may be a serious character, but I don't take them seriously as a person. And
yeah, it's tough because there are a lot of people who are like, oh, you know, it's super cool that, like, you've come up with all of these headcanons about what Ulduar was like, what it is like. And there are also some people who are like, I don't think you should be touching lore that you don't know. So it's like, it's kind of finding a group of people that is okay with me making my own stuff up and staying away from people who just are the enemies of imagination because they're no fun.
We had a whole topic on that once where you know, you just find your crowd. Find the crowd that like to play it the same way.
I think for like Ulduar headcanon, it doesn't affect the world of WoW in general. It doesn't harm anyone else's stuff, so it's not a problem to me.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel personally. I think that, you know, if I say something like, oh yeah, the Mechanomes in Ulduar, they all had their own serial code number, and, you know, Kitsch still has his to this day. You know,
that
I
makes
don't think
complete sense.
It makes
as
sense.
Someone that worked in industrial
Absolutely
production.
Nothing about, you know, the story or the lore as
right.
given, you know.
And it's also,
gives it depth.
I didn't pick a character, or I didn't want to pick a character that was like, oh yeah, he was like Mimiron's right-hand man, and he designed this, and this, which are huge things in Ulduar. It's like, no, he literally like shined the axles on the tanks. He was
Who was Mr. Tech Janitor?
Exactly. He was like an unpaid intern. He had no significance. And I honestly think that's more interesting to play, to, pick a character who's so obscure and niche that you kind of have to put more into what their life is like.
Especially, I think it's even more interesting then when you take them out of that setting, because then you get they're really, it's not anything they could ever possibly have imagined or dreamed or conceived of in any way, because their world was a lot smaller.
Right. It really is a story of like, sorry to ramble, but it's
oh, no, I love this stuff. I live for it.
It's kind of a story of like living in a bubble and thinking that the outside world is X, Y, and Z. And then you get into it and you realize that it's much worse. Because, Kitsch had access to like all of these cool like Titan computers and all of this cool stuff in Ulduar that told him about the world outside. And he was like, oh man, there's like Titan corruption. That's a bummer. I bet that's going to be like the most important thing that I have to deal with when I, leave Ulduar. And then he gets outside and he's like, oh my God, everyone hates each other and everyone's dying.
Don't they know about
really
the corruption?
Don't they know about the corruption? No, literally. But I totally agree.
I thought about that. Oh yeah, so regarding elves, like Quel'Thalas doesn't have seasons. How weird must it have been for elves to leave Quel'Thalas and see seasons? How many of them must have panicked when
they encountered snow?
When the leaves started falling in winter, the trees are dying. Oh God, the world is ending. What is this?
Depends on the age of the elf, though, right?
Well, it depends if they ever left Quel'Thalas.
There was the initial partnership with humans and all that shit before, right?
But depends if they ever left and saw outside Quel'Thalas, which has got this magical enchantment of eternal whatever the hell season is.
Shiny orange season.
Yep.
But yeah.
If Malthir could go back and do something different, what would it be? He has the view, which is he is what he is. And if he changed things, then would he be the same him? The answer is no. I think he partially says that, honestly, because he doesn't want to go through the thought exercise how much better it would be, because that's just depressing, and honestly he just doesn't want to give it the headspace. But if he had to pick something, he'd probably not want to follow Kael'thas to Outland.
Yeah, that was an error.
Yeah, in retrospect, that was a terrible idea.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, like his entire concept of morality has had to change so that he is not a villain in that situation. There are so many mental gymnastics that he's had to do that make sure that he's not a bad guy for following Kael'thas, massacring the Draenei, massacring Kirin Var, and then 180 and started massacring his own people at Quel'Thalas during the Shattered Sun. There's a lot of mental gymnastics he has had to do for that.
There's no one in this scenario he didn't kill at some point.
Basically, yeah. And of course he went and played in the Ghostlands with murdering the trolls as well. And then you come out of this thing, it's like, hey, so we're siding with Draenei, and we're joining the Horde, and Malthir's there just like, those were people I killed. Oh no.
My finger slipped.
Like, when you're fighting trolls in the Ghostlands, I imagine because they're so different, basically, you as an elf, you're going, oh, look at these people, they're so savage, they're not even people. They're hunched over, they've got tusks, they wear skins, they're kind of furry and they smell like burnt fur when you set fire to them and they die. They're not people. And you've got indoctrinated into this whole thing of they're not people when you kill them, that's fine. And then you go to Al, and there are these people that are, again, they're blue. Well, look at that, and they've got weird legs and horns, and they don't look anything like you. They're not people. It's fine, you can merge them, it's not like you're killing people. And then suddenly we realise that, oh no, they were all people. people. I was killing people all along. Oh, I don't know how I morally deal with this. And things get morally very, very spicy very quickly, or you just develop your entire moral systems that it's okay, you weren't a bad person.
We'll just not think about it ever again.
Yeah. Just don't think about it. He thinks that. He's now come to the conclusion that because he didn't know better at the time, it was okay. And honestly, there's the viewpoint which is, well, you could have questioned it at the time, which is like, well, yeah, but what good would questioning Kael'thas when you were alone in Outland have done for him, really? You know, ignoring that he could have gone away and joined the Squires earlier. That was an option. But he doesn't like to think about that.
Honestly, I think he just needs a spanking. You know what?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
No, I'm making a fatherly figure just to come spank.
Phrasing. Sir,
hey, I didn't say daddy.
That's true.
And you have now.
I have now. They asked for it.
No!
On that note, is there anything we need to shill today?
First, we asked if you guys want to show anything.
Come to Dalaran, please. Come roleplay in Dalaran. Oh god, the whole server's going quiet. It's like the last bastion of roleplay EU.
I feel like that picture of Squidward looking out the window at SpongeBob and Patrick, because I'm on US servers, so I can't. So as much as I want to.
It's quiet here.
There's a few people on US servers that hang around or have access.
We've had some guests as well from the US. So yeah, I mean, if you want to show something, chill away. I'm sure someone will listen.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know.
All right. Well, Kitschy, I think, is on hiatus right now, but they do have their own RP podcast that you should listen to.
You should absolutely check it out. It's really, really good.
I believe he's got some episodes still on Spotify.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that it was charging me like $12 a month to keep it on RSS.com.
It's crazy how much it costs.
I know, and I got to a point where I was like, I don't have a recording space because I just moved to college, and my new house is very creaky and old, and I have just been kind of waiting to see if my campus will actually let me record in their studio. So I'm kind of on a wait list right now to see if that happens. But if it does, then I'm gonna come back and record some episodes, hopefully closer to the early year of 2022.
Awesome. Speaking of which, if you want to sponsor us and pay for our Spotify subscription,
oh my god,
I wouldn't mind it.
I know it's like what, $12 or $13 a month.
Yeah, it's just pocket change for you big cheeses out there.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that in euros?
I use pounds, so it's
because
like
our
£12.
economy's tanking.
But euros.
Listen, I'm an American. I don't know what's.
Listen, we Brits refuse to change to euros apparently.
How much does that cost in tea and crumpets?
I don't like tea, so I'm sorry.
No, I don't like, but I'll take crumpets though.
You know what? I'll trade you 3 English braces for it. I believe if that's you done chilling, the usual for me then. If you want to follow me on Twitch, do so. If you're not following yet, there's an episode almost every Tuesday. I'm still very, very, very slowly trying to figure out what I want to do with RP Talks. There's also YouTube, which you can catch up on prior episodes, OC Talks or RP Talks. Post it in the chat. If you want to follow me on Twitter, there's also that. I don't know what I'm posting half the time there. If you're not in the Discord yet, go there. You can put your own suggestions forwards, interact with other people, follow other creators, sign up for the OC talks.
Yeah, if you want to come on the show in the next couple of weeks, you can drop in an application. The links are in the Discord.
Yeah, saying that you don't have to be someone or whatever, because I heard someone ask if you have to have some sort of popularity. No, you can come on if you want to.
Absolutely anyone can come
You
on.
need to own a yacht, you need to own a high-rise apartment, and you need to have at least 10,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, not even I have that. I guess I should leave and see you guys.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, you can, and it doesn't even matter if your OC is in a tabletop game, is
Yep.
in a different online game. It's just whatever you want to come on and talk about.
Yes, you can talk about any OC. It's not just WoW. It's not just Argent Dawn either. You NA folks are welcome here as well. Kitsch is your advocate from now on.
Oh my god, I'll represent us as filthy Americans.
Otherwise, thank you for the lovely arts you shared. I mean, I imagine some guys have spotted it on stream. There's Kitsch and there's Mal and a friend, his partner, I assume.
Yep, couples that slay together stay together. Yay!
I'm more of a dragon layer myself.
How you trying to get a full bingo on those flights? I see.
Yep. Well, I do have an OC of each flight except from Reds, so almost there.
Almost there.
But yeah, otherwise, thank you for being here. This video should be uploaded right away.
And we'll be back next week.
Yeah, I need to check who's on for next week. We're starting to fall short on the list, so please sign up. Yeah, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.